Monkey and Big Dinosaur. Who would have thought these two goofballs would end up having the most successful cinematic universe behind Marvel? But they did, and the recent Godzilla x Kong, The New Empire, geez we need to go back to numbering sequels, just came out, and I wanted to look back at the entire Monsterverse and see what is the best Monsterverse movie. And this list is completely subjective. None of these movies are, and I'm going to tread lightly here, that good. I mean, they're all fun, but saying one of them is way above the rest is a little silly. So yes, this is a very personal, what is my favorite Monsterverse list, but whatever, let's get into it. Okay, first off is Godzilla 2014, the first film in the Monsterverse. You never forget your first, and a lot of people stand by that Gareth Edwards' Kaiju outing is the best in the franchise. For me though, this is not fully my cup of tea. Now don't get me wrong here, the direction and the entire approach of the film, almost feeling documentarian-like and naturalistic, is something I really respect and think is a really cool take on the character. I love the visuals and the grounded nature of this film, and no other film in the Monsterverse shows the dread and horror as well as this film. Godzilla is scary in this, and after he attacks San Francisco, I feel the horror that there's no returning from this. The characters here I don't really latch onto, and it makes this a very beautiful film, but also a very empty film for me to watch. I don't love Godzilla 2014, I also don't hate this movie. I think it's a pretty middle-of-the-road Monsterverse movie, and I think most of that comes down to just what I want in a Godzilla movie. It is nowhere near the bottom of my list, but also I can confidently say that 2014 Godzilla is not my favorite Monsterverse movie. Moving on. Alright, let's bring in Challenger 2, and that's Kong Skull Island. Now, this is a monster movie. I kind of love this movie to pieces. I don't think it's great. I wouldn't throw the great word around with this movie, but it is my type of movie.
That's what I'm talking about.
Interesting and unique world design, incredibly fun and unique set pieces that lead to imagery and an overall look and visual style few kaiju films have ever gotten close to obtaining. It is so individual and unique. How many Vietnam kaiju movies are there? It's such a bizarre and fun idea, and here it is executed so well that it's kind of insane. And I'll go out and say it, I think this is the best King Kong movie we've gotten since the first one. Yeah, like the one from the 30s. This is not a great movie, but for me, this movie is straight heat. Super fun to watch, and if Godzilla is in the middle of the pack, Kong Skull Island is a main contender for my favorite Monsterverse movie. Let's see if there's anyone out there that can knock it off. Well, next up is Godzilla King of the Monsters, the sequel to Godzilla's 2014 outing, and this goes in a completely different direction than the first film did. Instead of going for a grounded take on Goji, it instantly throws in not one, not two, but three of Godzilla's greatest friends and enemies, King Ghidorah, Mothra, and Rodan, along with like 5 other monsters. This film is fully going into full Godzilla mode. It devotes its entire film to these huge monster battles and turning Godzilla from this grounded documentarian style to the huge blockbuster brawls of the Showa era of the late 60s and early 70s. But at the same time, it's a movie that ruins all that's going for it by focusing so much on the characters who are constantly interrupting the great monster battles that we're here to see. Now, I can hear all of you Godzilla fans saying, but you didn't complain about the characters in Skull Island, and they weren't good either. But here's the thing, those were characters that didn't get in the way of the story. They were just being hunted and attacked by these monsters. Here in Godzilla King of the Monsters, we're getting these awesome fights that are happening, and boom, we cut away and we're looking at Millie Bobby Brown. Why? And I'm gonna be real, this movie makes me a little angry because I think this should be one of the best movies in the franchise. It's got the best score out of all these movies, the visuals at time, whoo baby, straight heat. But overall, it's a film again with some really cool fights. It brings in some of the coolest characters in the entire series, but it's just brought down by awful and annoying human characters that I can't stand and that just destroy the pacing. Is this a contender for my favorite Monsterverse movie? Absolutely not. This is close to the bottom of my list, even though it should be near the top. Now the big one though, Godzilla vs. Kong. This movie, if you actually remember, got a lot of people back in the theater during COVID, and that's because this movie is a certified banger. This is exactly what I want out of a movie called Godzilla vs. Kong. It borders on utter stupidity and insanity, but it is able to reel it all in just enough. This movie introduces the Hollow Earth as a full concept. It is so stupid and so dumb it almost loses me, but right as I'm out, they pull me back in with one of the amazing fights, and that is what saves this movie for me. Just look at these fights. They're all clear to see, they got great choreography, and then they bring in my boy Mechagodzilla at the end. I gotta love it. These are the best fights in the whole Monsterverse, hands down. It looks great. It still hasn't lost all the scale of these monsters fighting like we'll see in the next movie. Once again, the humans do suck, and the biggest detriment to this film is the entire Mechagodzilla spy plot. It kills the pacing and almost loses me, but everything else in the movie is so banging, I don't care. And guys, I know I'm not being very intelligent or articulate with how I'm talking about these movies, but I'm sorry, these movies are just banging, and that's the only way to describe them. But when it comes to stupid Monsterverse movies, Godzilla vs. Kong, peak. It is contending right with Kong Skull Island for my favorite Monsterverse movie, Let's see if our next film is up to the task to contend with those bad boys. And lastly, we have Godzilla X Kong, The New Empire. And is this going to be near the top of my list? No, this is actually at the very bottom. This movie's really bad, even for this series. At this point in the franchise, we have lost any connective tissue with reality, and there's just nothing here to latch onto. The Hollow Earth, I already said, was a goofy concept, but it was used in moderation back in Godzilla vs. Kong. Here though, we are just in fantasy land, fighting an army of monkeys and ice monsters, and it is just so boring. I like the God of War Kong side plot, if you know you know, but never has a movie in this franchise felt so hollow, no pun intended. There are no stakes since it all happens in this fake world, the scale feels all off, and it has some of the worst fights in the entire series. Even the ones that happen in real cities or near the pyramids, they just have no weight or impact anymore. I do like some of the WWE Kaiju moves that Godzilla pulls in this movie, but overall, what a nothing burger of a movie. No, this is not near the top of my list, and no, this is not my favorite Monsterverse movie by a while. It's actually probably my least favorite. But now we have two films battling it out for the best Monsterverse movie, Kong Skull Island and Godzilla vs. Kong. Now, in order to figure out which one of these is going to be my favorite, I got a 12-point system, and whoever wins the most points in each category wins the best Monsterverse movie. Alright, this is going to be fun, and I am not doing that. Absolutely not. Let me just get this out of the way. A little anticlimactic, but I like Godzilla vs. Kong more. It wins this entire thing because I just like it more as a movie. It's finals month right now for me, so I actually have a paper I gotta write. So there's some Sunny D's in the fridge. You know, you guys, take one, let yourselves out when you're done. Sweet. I'll probably have a new video out within a few days or so. When that comes out, I'll see you then. And it's tax season. Don't let the IRS catch it.